2025, the year that changed everything. I do have permission to share some of these. So this is fine-tuned auto. This is actually their Longmont location. And here's their ad. And it's Annie Mineo coming in hot. But I'm just a little too in love with this ad. So Kenny had asked for something, that jumps out at you, and this one, this one literally jumps out at you. Little Gingy is what we named him, the little gingerbread man. But this is Longmont. This is a location that's been struggling over the last year. It's new. They're getting their footing, and so I wanted to share some of their numbers with the ad. And so right here, here's your reach. And this was a $200 ad spend. You see that we spent 199.85 out of 200. If you tell Facebook, okay, I want to spend $200 on this ad, they will get as close to that $200 as they possibly can. But they don't go over, as you see right here. And so there was your reach, which is a good reach for Longmont. Your post engagement, they had 1,527 post engagements. And a number of those are going to be people wanting to watch the gingerbread man dance. But then you're also going to have your interactions. They actually had 25 calls off of this. And so go ahead. Did somebody have to say something? Okay. Yeah, so they had 25 calls off this. So we ran with our 4 locations, we ran 3 of them that had click for appointment was their call to action. This one, their call to action was actually call. And so they had 25 phone calls off of this. So when you have 4 locations, you can do what's called A/B testing. So you test a couple of them, see which one's doing best, and then you come back with the analytics that you have and you change it up the next time. And so they had about 120 click-throughs with some of their other locations. And Longmont, because it was the most struggling one, 25 calls off of an ad that cost you $200 in a struggling location is good. For a location that's not struggling, it's not that great. But for one that was struggling, our leads for this location are more expensive than the other locations that are more established. And so this is a good indicator that ad went well. And so I wanted to share that Fine-Tuned Auto did a great job as far as their Cyber Week. If your location is struggling, and I'm sending this out to some folks that have two locations and one's not doing as well as the other, that's a good opportunity to do A/B testing. But they certainly proved that something good can be done with the Toys for Tots. And they also did another ad that had a package to where you could buy 4 oil changes that came with 4 tire rotations, and all 4 of these other services. And so they ran simultaneously together. And so if you have multiple locations, you can also come back and say, okay, I want to run for Black Friday / Toys for Tots, I want to do an oil change, or for the other one, I want to do a cyber deal to where it's it's basically, so for them it was a VIP pack, but it was 4 oil changes and it was a package deal, and you can A/B test those to see which one does better. And so in the future, Sarah, we can look at doing that and see which one performs better off that. But getting 25 calls off of that, that was good stuff. So economic forecasts, I love economic forecasts. There's an economy group that I follow, and so when I say we, this is what the economists in this group said. Harry Dent is one of the individuals in that I follow. And Harry has only been wrong once, and he does, like, he'll talk about downturns and things like that, but he is absolutely accurate. One of the reasons that I like him is because he doesn't have a dog in the hunt. There's no one paying him to. So if somebody says Bank of America stocks are going to do well, a lot of times Bank of America is propping them up. They're an influencer. And so that used to be illegal. And if you have certain economist jobs and positions, it still is illegal, but they can still pay the influencers that are not economists to say that and kind of rock the stocks a little bit, so to speak. But this particular group, the synopsis is we see a strong GDP growth. So this is obviously just for here in the United States, moderate unemployment. And most of them say that the unemployment rate is going to go down with the new president coming in, and persistent inflation in 2025. So when you have out of control spending, which has been going on in the US, you're going to have out of control inflation. They go hand in hand. And so as spending slows, then the inflation slows with it. They just go hand in hand. So everyone needs to understand that. That doesn't stop on a dime. And so it was announced last week that the US is giving $1 billion to a country in Africa. I'm not going to go into that, but when you do that, you have skyrocketing inflation because the value of your currency goes down. We believe the Fed will lower, I'm just quoting again, we believe the Fed will lower interest rates at a slower pace than the market expects. So everyone's expecting our new president to go in there and all of a sudden everything goes back to the way it was. It does, and so this group is saying it's probably not going to be that fast. But Trump is very unpredictable. If anybody knows Trump, he's very unpredictable. And a press conference, you're going to be on the edge of your seat for his first few press conferences because he's unpredictable. So that's just his calling card. It's part of his personal brand. The outlook for the U.S. economy, I'm resuming my quote, the outlook for the U.S. economy remains strong with no signs of major shutdown or slowdown going into 2025. So that's all good news for shop owners. Is there is more money to be made in 2025 than there was in 2024. That is what I get from that. So we're going to talk briefly about goal setting. And we're going to do more of this later, but right now this is the time that you should be setting your 2025 goals. It's not January 1st when everyone's writing their New Year's resolutions. Your business plan should be done before January 1st. Your social media goals, your Google goals, those types of things can follow suit, but we have to isolate goals. I saw that Kenny jumped on here. Kenny sent me a text and said, how do we get 4,000 to 7,000 more vehicles next year than we did this year? That's quantifiable. That's a real goal. And so when I turn back to Kenny and to Sarah and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. This is what I'm recommending. That's measurable. And so I highly recommend narrowing it down to 1 or 2 goals. And that helps you in your shop with 1 or 2 goals. Say speed to service is slow. That's your one goal that you're working on. That if everybody knows we're working on speed to service, then everyone's going to be on the same page and you don't overwhelm them. A service writer can understand that. A tech can understand speed to service. If you're talking just communication, or if you're talking quality, if you're going to hire a QC guy, these are very specific goals, and everybody can get on board with 1 or 2 goals. If you overwhelm them with more than that, you're not going to get the same response. So one of the things that you're going to want to go back and look at is your 2024 ad spend. What did you spend this year? What worked? And what do you wish you did? That's a big question. There's been some frustration that I've heard through multiple clients and other people saying, well, we get on this too late. One of the reasons we get on it too late is because we don't talk about it until it's too late. But one of the other reasons that we talk about it too late is because we're so focused on what's happening now. And I literally called a client that's been asking me for 3 months, how do I fix my business? And I call him up and I said, do you have time to talk? No, I don't have time to talk right now. I'm working on cars. And it's been like that for a week. And this guy he was struggling. Now he thinks he's covered up, but he's not as covered up as he could be. And so we get so inundated and we're like, I can't talk about goals right now. I can't talk about what else to do. we have to focus and look at what we wish we did. So next year, he's going to wish that we would have implemented what I've been asking him to implement. Make a long story short, he's in a small town, but it has a hospital. And everybody here that has been on the last couple of calls knows that now's the time to get hospitals because you can do first responder gift cards. First responder gift cards is a shortcut to success if you have a hospital in your area. So we've had a great response off that. If you're not doing that, let's talk about it. Talk to Quinn about it. Talk to me about it. But that is a great opportunity. Those first responder gift cards are killing it right now. Just so you know, your why. Why are we setting our goals? For me, I have whys with each and every goal. I have, like for instance, with Jesse, he said he's having struggling months. And so he is one of my whys. He's one of the reasons that I get up in the morning is to help him turn his business around and to transform his 2025. He's one of my whys. And I literally think of him. I think of his handsome mug smiling, and maybe the last time that I hugged him at an event, but he's one of my whys. And so every day when I do up my goals, I write why I'm doing certain things. That can be for a family vacation. It can be so that you have less stress. That's definitely a legitimate why. It can be for your wife and kids. It can be, you go down the list and that can be your why. If you're doing well and you want to give back to the community, that can be another why. As everybody on here knows that I have various like the special needs rodeo that's going to come up in July, things like that. I want to sponsor, and make it bigger and better. Those are some of my whys. Your why has to be strong. So in May, I have an Ironman in St. George, Utah that I'm doing. And my why has to be strong in order to do that. So, and I have a 50 miler that I'm running this year. My why has to be strong to keep my willpower up. So you have to have a strong why. If you're going to do big things, then you have to have a big why. And so has anybody ever seen this look from your techs or service writers when you talk about your goal? So so I love this. They're like, what? This, if Kenny was to go to his team and say we need 4 to 7,000 more cars this year, that's the exact look and expression that he's going to get. They're going to say, what? That's just so real. That's why I had to share that. So you're going to have excuses come up, and excuses are things that people come up with because they're not thinking of why. They're just thinking of the how. And you have to keep your why focus, or else you're going to have excuses that start to overshadow your execution. That's what it boils down to. You either have excuses or you have execution. You can't have both. They can't exist in the same room. Literally, you don't have the same amount of space for both of them. And so when you hear excuses, you as a leader, I'm just gonna move this because it's bothering me, but you as a leader need to squash the excuses if they start becoming overwhelming. If you have concerns, that's different than an excuse. A concern is, well, what are we going to do about this? And as you roundtable it, you'll lead through it. You have to lead, you're a leader, and you lead people through those concerns. When it starts being excuses, well, nobody needs excuses in the room. So if you're talking about resources, one of my other clients taught me this years ago, that we were talking about resources with one of his clients, and he stopped the meeting and he said, you don't have a lack of resources. You have a lack of resourcefulness. So Jesse, when you did your Veterans Day oil changes, could you cut hair? No.
I cut my hair, but that's really
Well, we
I've
all
cut
know
one
that.
other person. We've cut one other person's hair before, and he didn't like how it turned out. So that ended my hair cutting career.
I love it. So, but Jesse doesn't know how to cut hair, but he still wanted to offer more value to the veterans. And so he teamed up with other people. He didn't have the resources to cut hair, but he brought that in. And you'll hear me say it again and again. Sun Tzu said, if you're going to go to war, don't go alone. This is the same thing. If you're going to accomplish your goals, don't accomplish them by yourself. Share your vision and bring other people in. And so if your technicians say we don't have the resources for that, say how do we leverage other people's resources? And there's always a way to get it done. You just have to think outside the box quite often. And especially if you're going to accomplish something this year you haven't in the past, you have to do something this year that you haven't done in the past. You can't go into that territory repeating history. It's impossible. Okay, you won't hear me quote my mom a lot. She was a farm girl, but she used to tell me, Sam, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And she like it could be everything from Sam, did you do the dishes? Mom, I was fixing to. Well, Sam, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And just because I intended to wash the dishes doesn't make them done, and it doesn't make it a good thing. But she would use this quote, and she raised me with this. And so intending to do something, intending to do your goals, unless you do it, it's like you never had the intention to do it. And so, if anybody here wants to quote my mom, that she would roll over in her grave if she knew that that was the quote that lasted. Focus.
I've heard that quote myself many times. So
Yeah, I love that quote. It resonated with me, and I shared it with my brother last year, and he said, "Mom, yeah, I forgot that she said that." And so it's continuing to span the generations. Focus, you've heard of the quote, follow one course until successful. That one or two goals that you have, keep following it and follow it and stick to it and stick to it. I don't know if anybody on here, I know he's pretty abrasive, but David Goggins is one of the people that I wake up to a lot of times and just watch one of his videos. And he's very extreme and he's very vulgar, so a lot of people don't take him right, but he's raw and he'll tell you if he's just grinding that day. Some days are great. They're awesome. You get a medal at the end of your marathon, so to speak. There are other days where you just grind. And, sometimes I'll come home and my wife will say, how was your run? And I'll say, sweetheart, I was just grinding today. But there's other days where I feel fast and I feel good, or I'm listening to a podcast and I'll come away with a great idea. And those are great days, but sometimes you just grind. And so you follow that course until you're successful. And I obsess over things. This is one of the great qualities of being ADHD, is that you have the ability to hyper focus. And I hyper focus on something until I know how to get in, until I know how to be successful at it. And so this shop owner that I talked about, I'm calling and he's like, man, I'm working 12-hour days because we're too busy. He's going to be so mad when next year he's like, yeah, I didn't call the hospital with the first responder stuff. I didn't follow my same goal. He gets so caught up in the trees, he can't see the forest. We've all heard that quote. And so if you fall victim to that, then call me up, call Quinn up. We'll help you through that, but you need to delegate anything that doesn't have to be you. So that is the number one thing that is haunting executives and CEOs, is that they do too many things that they can hand off to other people. A lot of you are seeing a number of different names on our roster. And I know that some of our clients that are on here today have gone through employees that weren't a good fit, and that they've been hiring because you should not be spending your day doing things that don't have to be you. And so Modern Auto, I wish he was on, but it has transformed his quarter. His entire quarter is totally transformed because he hired an assistant. And so he and I kept harping on him. I've had him for probably 4 months. I've been harping on him. And then all of a sudden he's like, is it really that big of a deal? And I said, yes, it is. And he said, I'm going to stop arguing with you and I'm going to hire somebody. And so he hired a girl out of his community that came in. And on her first day, he said, can you run down to my truck and get my checkbook? This is something that would have taken him 30 minutes because he would have stopped at the water cooler, so to speak. and talked to multiple people who had just one thing to ask him. It would have taken him 30 minutes to run to his truck and get his checkbook. She ran down and got it and came back in less than 5 minutes. And he said, "You just changed my life." And so he was able to do things that just he had to do. And if you watch him on his social, if you're looking at his car count, things like that, they're reflecting it because he's focusing on things that he wants to do and that only have to be him. This is J&G Transmissions. They've been a client for 9 years now. A lot of you have heard me talk about them. They didn't have company pictures before we started with them. The reason that they have company pictures, they always said, "I don't have time." And this is Brett, bless his heart. Every time we would have an idea, he'd say, "I don't have time." Has anyone ever heard their guys say, "I don't have time"? We don't have time for that. And especially when it comes from leadership, that means that it's trickling down and all of a sudden everyone else doesn't have time because that's his excuse. How much time does it call everybody together to have a picture? Anybody? Okay, it takes about
For
20
us,
minutes.
yeah, for us it was 30 minutes probably.
Yep. But we had the goal of having a company picture done. And does everybody have to look pretty if the Grinch is there? No, the Grinch is what everybody looks at, right? And if you have an inflatable, I teach this, you can do Thanksgiving pictures with an inflatable turkey. And then you can reuse it on roadside to bring in new customers. You can do it with an inflatable Santa. You can do it with an inflatable Grinch, you name it. But we actually we had the Grinch come, and that's why it took 20 minutes. It took 10 minutes to assemble everyone. And then everybody stayed around to get pictures with the Grinch afterwards. So it took about 20 minutes. And then they just told them to get back to work. But we just made it happen. And if you just make something happen, this had been a goal for theirs for over 10 years. But it actually took 20 minutes just because we had a Grinch show up and made it happen. So we followed our course until we were successful. And so this picture lives on. Not everybody here still works here. We actually got to use it the next year in social media because the people that had left, we actually just put a Grinch face over them. And it actually got more traction than the original picture because everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that." And it just worked really well on social media. So, like I say, it took 10 years. They were fixing to do this for 10 years. And it just took somebody making it happen. It only took 20 minutes in all actuality to make it happen. So, yes, those things can happen. All right. And everybody heard about my one goal. Can anyone tell me what my one goal for this year was? The client dashboard. Okay. So the client dashboard, we went through different developers and all kinds of fun stuff, but I wanted y'all to be able to get on and to look at your Google Analytics in one place. I wanted you to be able to give feedback and things like that. When it all came down to it, you remember me saying we want this to be like you're making a pizza to where you can watch your projects get done. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm not letting that stop the progress. You still have to have some offense on the field. Just because your quarterback doesn't know all the plays doesn't mean he can't run three. So you get your offense on the field. We have what's called analysis paralysis in the business world, and you analyze something until it never happens. You have to execute. And so what we're executing is the dashboard that has analytics to it. Because that has been, in my opinion, our biggest weakness in our company is analytics. Yes, we're good at getting them. No, we're not good at communicating them. And so this had to happen this year. So guess what's happening this week? Everyone, whoop, whoop, whoop. Yep. And so we're populating all of your usernames and passwords right now. And so you will have this week. So we've followed one course until we're successful. We've had to go through different employees in order to make this happen. But if they don't share your vision, they're not a good fit for you. And you have to surround yourself with people that have your same vision and that will make you successful. And we had a project manager that didn't work out. You all remember, but we're sitting there, and my daughter has to remember, said, Dad, you know what you taught me about the six people? And you hear me preach this, you become like the six people that you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with people that don't have the same vision, that don't have the same goals, and don't have this, the same drive, those types of things, you're going to lose yours. And so you have to surround yourself with people that are going to help you become successful. Now, they don't have to be your employees, but you spend so much time with your employees, you have to pick employees that are going to buy into your vision and that are going to help you become successful. So this is happening because I made those changes and I followed that course until we were successful. And I know that we still have 20 days left of the month, but we're going to hit this goal. And some people that don't know me very well say, Sam, you're pretty intense when you're talking about these things. Yes, you have to be passionate. Your people that you surround yourself with have to know that you're passionate about this. And so when I have events that are coming up, when Ironman's coming up in May, you're going to see that I'm freaking intense when it comes to training and things like that because it's non-negotiable. I'm going to be successful. And so when you have your goals, it's not negotiable. You're going to succeed. And everyone on here knows that I will bend heaven and hell to make things happen for you because I want you to be successful. You have to be passionate about that. And so, yeah, my last slide, let's talk. I would like for everybody here to be thinking about those goals and those non-negotiables for next year. Let's look at those 2024 numbers and let's make that a reality. One of our clients that was very successful at saying yes this year, we printed a banner that was 8 feet long that said yes. The answer is yes. And so guess what message his technicians and his service writers got? Does anyone know what message they received?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. And all year long, guess what their answer was?
Yes.
Yes. And so if you have to do that, but speed or service, we can create those banners and put those up, and you will communicate that with your technicians, with your service writers, until you're successful. If the answer is yes, if your goal is no comebacks, you can certainly print no comebacks up there, and that's your theme. So yes, let's talk. Reach out, Jesse. That's against the rules, bro. No yawning. That's contagious.
Well, yes, it is. Bad influence.
Yeah. So everybody think about what you want to accomplish, narrow it down to those one or two things, and let's go after it because Kenny's 4 or 7,000 cars is going to come down to just a couple things at a time. It could be one or two things at a time that you push and you focus on it until you're successful. So that's me preaching. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Did anybody have anything else to share or any questions on this? Okay. All right.
It's
I'm
a
going to
great
take
presentation.
that. Hey, thank you. So now's your time to be thinking about that, and you can share it with your teams. But yeah, I'm super excited that we've reached our goal and that we'll be launching that this week. So as that populates, please give us feedback. And like I say, the rest of it is going to continue to come, but you have to focus until you're successful. And I'm with you all the way to help all y'all be successful. I will do anything that I possibly can to make you successful and help you reach your goals. But it's a team sport, and your team will have to buy into your vision. So as I mentioned in the email, this is our last webinar for the year, because guess what we're doing for the rest of the year? We're focusing. So for the entire rest of the year, we are focusing. We're helping you focus. It's not that we're just breaking through the holidays. Yeah, we're going to be looking, and this is our busiest month of the year as we help you build out your 2025s. So if it's the middle of the night, text me, because my phone will just send you to voicemail or whatever. But yeah, as you come up with your goals and your visions and you buy into them, then just hit me up and hit up Quinn. We'll make these things happen. Actually, on your goals, hit me up, and I want to be there with you. That's a very personal thing that we're gonna want to accomplish together. And then, hey, when those things happen, we're gonna celebrate them.
Mhm.
So when Michael and Tiffany Harold turned their business around this year, and I saw him at the event, he came up to me and he didn't have any words for me. He just cried and he hugged me. That stuff fires me up. That stuff absolutely fires me up. And he just kept hugging me and he said, "Thank you, Sam." And to me, that was one of the best things that happened this year.
Yeah,
So as we reach our goals, hey, let's do this together. And thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your business. Thank you for everything that we've accomplished this year. A lot of you are in much better shape than when we got together, but 2025 is going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I believe that.
So
Same.
thank you, Sarah.
Sure. You're
You
welcome.
just
Thank you.
Yeah, you just lit up. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for everyone else that's on here and that is going to watch today. So, hey, we're in it with you. Let's go.
Let's go. We'll see you soon.